What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So, as expected, a ton of PlayStation 5 coverage flooded the internet yesterday morning. Websites had coverage for unboxings along with YouTubers. It was all over the place. We'll talk a little bit about that here today, as well as, of course, size comparisons, because what else do you do with a PlayStation 5 when you get out of the box than just start putting it next to everything around you? Also, we get to talk about a possible demo for Zelda Age of Calamity and why it could be coming out anytime now, even maybe today. Oh, and we get to talk about why Halo Infinite is getting beaten up pretty bad by the Halo community. Everyone seems to be mad at that game, and we'll talk about why that is. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below. And we're going to start today with Cyberpunk 2077 on the second channel, Spawnwave Plus. I went into a bit more detail about this when the news broke, but it has been delayed. It's a big enough deal that I figured we would also cover it here very quickly. They put this tweet out that says, "Today we've decided to move the release date of Cyberpunk 2077 by 21 days. The new release date is December 10th. And they go on further to talk about how they are currently developing for 9 different platforms. Keep in mind, this game was announced 8 years ago. It has been that long. We've been talking about this game the entire generation that's been going on up until now with the PS5 and the Series X launching, and it still hasn't come out. And it seems to me anyway that this game, as they said, turned into a next-gen game throughout that time period. And unfortunately, the Xbox One still exists and they still want to put the game on it. The PS4 base system from 2013 is probably running into its own issues, but that VCR has gotta be struggling. I figured they went through QA and they were like, wow, this thing is having a hard time. It's like mid to low 20s at all times. What do we do? Can we get a patch out in time so that it can make its November release? Probably not. Let's push it 3 weeks and see if we can make this work. Just look out for a pretty big day one patch. But I have to say, I know people are like, oh, cool. How is the PS5 and the Series X going to run this thing? No. How is the VCR gonna run this game? That's gonna be the most interesting one to see. Also, it looks like PUBG will be ready for next generation consoles with an update that will function with kind of the backwards compatibility that we have right now for the PlayStation 5 to the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series X to the Xbox One X. The only issue we run into there means that the Series S will be using the Xbox One S version of the game, and that kind of hurts it here in terms of frame rate, as it's been announced that the Series X and the PS5 will have up to 60 frames per second available in the prioritized frame rate mode, whereas the Series S, unfortunately, will still be capped at 30 frames per second. Bluehole has mentioned that they will be working with Microsoft to try to uncap the One S and in turn the Series S and try to get up to 60 frames. We'll see how that goes, because PUBG has been a mess on consoles. Like when it first launched, that was crazy, right? With some of the different things that were going on with the bad frame rates, the texture pop-ins, it was all over the place. But we would like to assume now with the Series X and the PS5 that this will finally be the time that maybe we do get 60 frames per second and a pretty good looking PUBG on consoles. It's just the question of that Series S. We'll see what happens there going forward past release. And we've been talking quite a bit about the PlayStation 5 demand. It seems like it's been pretty crazy. Every time it pops up online with stock, boom, it's gone, sold out. And then of course, a few more pop up on eBay for the $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 price tag. It's just happens every time, it seems. But to put a little bit of context on it, we see here, Jim Ryan did mention exactly how crazy it's been compared to the PlayStation 4. Daniel Ahmed tweeted this out here saying, Jim Ryan says that the company has pre-sold as many PS5 units in the first 12 hours of availability as it did in the first 12 weeks for the PS4. It may be that not everybody who wants to buy a PS5 on launch day will be able to find one, says Jim Ryan. And you know what, I was thinking about it. Is the PS5 higher demand leading up to its release than the PS4? Because the PS4 had a lot going for it, right? It was cheaper than the Xbox One. It was more powerful. Microsoft's getting beaten up left and right by Sony with used games and sharing and all. I don't know. I guess if they really are selling that many pre-orders right now, especially if you look at kind of the launch lineup currently. But Sony also spent the last generation just building up more and more of a fan base as they've gone along. So, I mean, I guess it is higher, and Jim Ryan says it, so it must be true. But let's see what happens here, and hopefully Sony can get more and more stock into stores into the holidays, because otherwise it's going to be a bit until we can find them. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're starting right away with the PlayStation 5 unboxings that were all over the place yesterday. A lot of hardware overview and some software. We saw a little bit of gameplay. We'll talk about that as well. But the unboxings, you can see they're everywhere. Like I said, I did like MKBHD's unboxing. I thought that was probably the best one that I saw yesterday, but they were all pretty good because you got to see everyone's reaction when the thing came out of the box. It was just a bit of surprise and worry that they just took it out of the box with one hand, because apparently that thing is very, very heavy to pick up. And of course, everyone started looking at it, trying to figure out if it would fit in their entertainment center or even next to their TV. So it's pretty funny to see everyone's reaction for that. But Sony also had sent out a ton of accessories, which included the wireless charging stand. That's something that I myself am interested in, because I use one currently for my controllers, and the fact that the DualSense supports it natively, so you just drop it on there, is pretty cool. Of course, an extra DualSense, so everyone had pretty good impressions for the most part with that DualSense controller. They still have to play and use it and all of this, but just holding it in the hand, everyone seemed pretty happy with it, which is good, because it seems like a pretty large departure in terms of size and the overall look of it compared to the DualShock 4. And then we had the size comparisons. It was inevitable. People are just gonna start putting it next to everything around them. Game Explained probably had the best one for this, as they sat the PS5 down and they just started putting everything next to it. That includes the PS4 Pro, for example, the Dreamcast, because why not put a Dreamcast next to it, the Xbox One, all of this. The Dreamcast, by the way, is probably the funniest one, because it really makes you realize how far we've come with our game consoles. Like this little thing, this little Dreamcast, and now we have this massive monolithic PlayStation 5 that we're just trying to figure out where we can put it just so we can actually use it. We also had some software impressions where people were posting full direct feed 4K capture of Astro's Playroom. SkillUp also had a very good video going over some of the features of the DualSense alongside of it and his impressions on it. And naturally, we hear about the haptic feedback, the adaptive triggers that will change tension on the fly as you are using it. I like that video quite a bit for kind of just going over Astro's Playroom, which, by the way, yes, it does indeed sound like it's going to be a fairly small tech demo for the controller and the technology that the PlayStation 5 would have. So it's not going to be this big adventure or anything from what I'm seeing. Visually, it looks good, of course, but like I wouldn't expect any crazy top 10 style game for the PS5. Nothing like that. But it comes on the PS5 and you turn it on, you'll have a game at least right away. But I enjoyed seeing a lot of the PlayStation 5 unboxings, a lot of good ones, a lot of good first impressions, and now we get to look forward to when we finally get to hear about some of the games like Spider-Man Miles Morales and, of course, Demon's Souls. That's the one I really want to hear about, and I hope it's not too far out. Like, I know we just got done with the unboxing embargo for the PS5 yesterday. I'm hoping it's like a week or two, and then we'll start hearing about some of the different things around these launch titles. And of course, there's also Sackboy. That'll be one interesting to see as well. But now, I gotta see Demon's Souls. I want to hear more about it. How does it play? How does it look? All of this. And then, of course, the load times is something like Spider-Man Miles Morales. So exciting stuff coming up for the PS5 as we head towards launch in November. Next up, let's talk about Zelda Age of Calamity. It's out next month. Actually, same day as Cyberpunk was going to come out on. Now it's been pushed 3 weeks, so that's kind of good, I guess. I don't have to decide which one to play first, or when do I switch off and go between them, because that's what I was going to try to do. I was going to try to play Age of Calamity for a bit, Cyberpunk, Age of Calamity, and just go back and forth until I probably finish Age of Calamity, and then I'm just all in on Cyberpunk. But there have been a lot of people who are still kind of undecided on Age of Calamity because it is indeed a warrior-style game, and, well, Hyrule Warriors, fun, but it would get repetitive. So I at least get where people are coming from with that. However, this seems to be more story-driven. But what if there was a demo you could try out before the game comes out and your save data would transfer over? Because it looks like there was a listing that was spotted that went live a bit too early by accident. We can see Kelios tweeted this out. It's from the Korean Nintendo website that mentions a demo and even goes a little in depth. This was from a description that was translated using Google Translate, saying, "The trial version has also begun distribution at the Nintendo eShop on the Nintendo Switch main unit. You can play Chapter 1, the prelude to the story, and fully experience the action of Musa Muso unfolding in the field of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I like the idea of a demo for this game a lot, by the way, because I do think there are people who are kind of hesitant on it, because if it is a warrior-style game, is it worth plowing through that gameplay loop that you may not be that fond of, because maybe you just like Zelda, whether it's the adventure style, of course, or you like Breath of the Wild where you just kind of get to run around and do whatever, or the traditional dungeon hopping that we would have. But like a Muso game that's like all warrior style, I don't know. A demo would, of course, help out. And Nintendo's been doing this. We just had it with Pikmin 3 Deluxe. There were probably a lot of people who didn't even think about playing Pikmin 3 at all, but they tried the demo and they liked it, and now they're moving on and grabbing the game. I like that Nintendo and other companies, specifically on the Switch, seem to be doing this a lot this generation so far. It's good to see. Now, this isn't confirmed, of course, but it did show up on Nintendo's Korean website, and it seemed like a full description was set up for it. So I think Nintendo, what they're going to do is just drop it on Twitter. They'll say, hey, the demo's ready to go. Go download it. And you know what? It could happen at any time. It could happen next week. Could even happen today. So keep an eye out for an Age of Calamity demo, because I don't think we're too far off from it. I mean, we're not too far off from launch, so it would make sense to kind of help build up some of the hype. Give us a demo that we get to play the chapter 1, as they say here, have our save data transfer over, and give us a cool little item, whether it's a weapon or some kind of accessory for beating the demo. I think that's a great idea, and I'm hoping to see it pretty soon. Next up, let's talk about Super Mario 3D All-Stars and an update that the game is getting. It's not Mario Galaxy 2. That's been this rumor. Mario Galaxy 2 is going to Mario 3D All-Stars. Yeah, that'll happen, sure. But we do have this update here. You can see the tweet. It says, a free software update is coming to Super Mario 3D All-Stars on November 16th that adds a new inverted camera control setting for all 3 games. And I do like that on Sunshine, they have separate options for if you're using Flood, or if you're just using, as they say, the Mario Cam, which is when you're running around as Mario, you can move the camera around, but not to the 16th of November. That's odd. I mean, the only thing I think of here is it's taking that long because they didn't even think to do this. This is like, oh, wow. People want an inverted camera for Sunshine? Are we sure? Because that's how it was originally. We changed that. They want that? Yeah, that's kind of what I think happened here. They were taken a little, maybe caught a little off guard with the feedback, because everyone complained about it, that the inverted camera options were just gone. I mean, the collection itself is pretty bare bones as it is, but like to not even have something like that kind of option was weird. So good to see that it is coming, and I don't think there's going to be much more updates after this. To be honest, I was a little surprised they even went this far, because the game's going away at the end of March. I don't really know why you'd continue putting more and more resources into it to update it when you're just going to discontinue it soon. But maybe some bugs or something get ironed out. And then, of course, in April, we'll just basically forget about this collection, going forward. But good to see that at least before that happened, for those of us who have the game, inverted controls will be added in the next few weeks. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Halo Infinite and a new system that's been introduced here that did not sit well with the Halo community. And we're going to quickly talk about why that is. This is called the coding system. Now, in Halo, dating back even to the original one, now I think about it, because we could still change our armor color, it just wasn't very good. You just changed it to any one color, and your entire armor would change to that color. But as we went along, we'd eventually get to the point where, like in Halo 3, for example, we would get different armor pieces. We'd have secondary, primary colors that have emblems. There was a lot of stuff you could do to customize the look of your character. And sure, it would generally come down to red versus blue, but in different free-for-all matches, you'd be able to see, or even custom game types, how your character looked. And it was pretty cool to do all of that. I didn't get as into the customization side of things, but I had some friends that would sit there for hours and then constantly change even after that between matches. It was just a thing in the Halo community. But it seems that 343 maybe changing that up, and it's not something that's very exciting to the community currently. Let's talk about what this coding system is. This was posted on the Halo Waypoint blog post here. According to the lead player investment designer, a coding is a 7-layered shader that allows us to put any artist-authored color, material, or pattern into 7 channels and apply it to in-game items like weapons, armor, and vehicles. Yes, that's right, including vehicles. Here's an example. This shows this little warthog down here. It's like blue and silver. That's pretty cool. But then things go south very quickly here. It says coloration along with materials and patterns will now be baked into the coding, taking the place of the primary, secondary armor color options found in prior games. This led to several Reddit posts being made immediately after this. For example, this one here, it's official, Halo Infinite has a shader system, and that's absolutely unacceptable. To go a little further than that, people also posted up yesterday that 343 is charging $5 for the color purple. Speak up now, or this is our future with the Halo series. This is after posting several different promotions that were being made. Remember, we had Halo Infinite delayed out of this year, but a lot of promotions are still making the rounds. We saw Monster Energy doing one, for example, and it's been on like Doritos chips and all of this. Here's the issue we're running into right now, because it was even further explained by the community manager, but they still don't seem to understand what the main problem is here, because they think it's about just having to buy coatings. It's like, well, no, it sounds like you'll be able to earn everything in game. Okay, or you can spend money, but a lot of us understand it's a free-to-play multiplayer. That's not the issue. You got to make money somehow. We get that. The problem is you've taken coatings and you've tied in the idea of customizing with different colors. Those should be separate. You should earn a coating, whether it's like camouflage or whatever. Just, maybe it's just a bunch of like triangles or squares or something all over you, and then you can change the color as you would like. The problem we run into then is if you get camo, is it an orange camo? Is it a red camo? Or is it purple? That is what people are frustrated with right now, because those would be randomized and then unlocked. So it kind of takes away, as of now, from what they're explaining, the customization options that we've always had in the Halo universe, the line of games. It's a weird thing, but it's a free-to-play multiplayer, and I think even they realize, hey, this would work to make some extra money. But here's the thing. It's not final yet. I don't believe it is. I think their mind can be changed on this, so you'll just have to let them know. And on Reddit, that's what a lot of them are doing currently. They're trying to speak up, get their attention, and alter and change this in some way, because taking the customization out of the Halo community like this, just with a little thing like colors, really is that big of a deal. So here's hoping Halo Infinite, they change their mind 343 with this, because it seems like they're doing a lot of things with the game currently, according to how the community is seeing this. I mean, we had the whole game delayed because there was some backlash like, hey, what's wrong with this game? So the little thing like colors and shaders, people just don't want it to go the Destiny route, where you're dealing with shaders and it ends up being a whole thing just to grind out one certain color and pattern combination. So here's hoping they change their mind. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Nicholas saying, it still amazes me how horrible Nintendo's online service is. They should focus on that instead of new hardware. Well, the hardware and like the online, that's all separate. Nintendo will still continue to do hardware, of course, with their R&D department. The thing that's weird to me is it feels like the software side, when it comes to the network and online, went on vacation a while ago, because they haven't really done a lot with it. Like, it's been pretty quiet. I know people talk about themes and folders and all this, but like the eShop hasn't seen any massive enhancements. They haven't redesigned it or done much of anything. And you know what's weird? I almost feel like they're running out of time with this generation. Maybe they're just like, we'll introduce a whole new eShop next generation. It is weird. Like, we very well could be going into like the 5th year of the Switch, and we still have the exact same looking eShop. We still have 2 themes. There's no folder. It's weird. The software side is the part that is severely lacking right now when it comes to just the OS. The games are there, but like, it's really weird, because I remember when the Switch first came out and we had light theme and dark theme, all of us were like, oh, it just came out. They'll add more. Go check that tab out now. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, whether it's all the PlayStation 5 unboxings, the hardware overview, some of Astro's Playroom gameplay. What'd you think about all of that, guys? Let me know about that one. And then what about Zelda Age of Calamity getting a demo? I'm on board with that, because I'd like to play this game as soon as I can. And then, of course, the Halo Infinite coding system. What are your thoughts on that, especially if you're a long-time Halo player? Do you see why the Halo community is really frustrated right now? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.